Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're going to be taking a look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2022 first depth chart that was released earlier today. I know I'm super late to this depth chart release video. My apologies, I had a lot of stuff to do after work today, but we are getting to the depth chart in this video today, and we have a lot of stuff to look at. I actually have a physical copy of the depth chart in front of me with a lot of players highlighted that I think are worth talking about in this depth chart. And I know that, a lot of people say, hey, it's the first depth chart, not a big deal, take it with a grain of salt, but I still feel there are some pretty important things to talk about when looking at this depth chart. So let's go ahead and get started with this. You look at the first two wide receivers positions, nothing really too surprising there, just going down the list. Left tackle, again, nothing too interesting, but left guard is where things start to get a little bit interesting, where you have Aaron Stinnie listed as your starting left guard right now, with Luke Goedeke listed as his backup. This was expected. This happens with a lot of depth charts where the young players, the rookies, are always listed as backups or third or fourth stringers, but it is safe to say that this could be what the Buccaneers plan on doing moving forward. Aaron Stinnie has been the starting guard throughout pretty much the entirety of training camp so far up to this point. He has done a good job. Luke Goedeke, while he's had some good moments, has also been a little bit quiet in certain situations as well. So again, Aaron Stinnie being the left guard right now, not too surprising whenever you think about how they have been doing in training camp. The next interesting thing to note is right below the left guard position, you have the center position. Ryan Jensen, he is obviously not going to be the starting center for the beginning of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers season. You have Robert Hainsey behind him, who you can assume now is the starting center, but behind Robert Hainsey, you have John Mulshawn. John Mulshawn, friend of the channel, obviously. I am a little bit biased, but he has done a pretty darn good job in showcasing versatility. Harold Goodwin had a decent bit of praise for Mulshawn after practice just a couple of days ago, and right now he is technically listed as the backup center to Robert Hainsey, whereas Nick Leverett, another player we've been talking about in that backup center battle mix with John Mulshawn, is listed as the backup right guard to Shaq Mason, right below where you see Robert Hainsey and John Mulshawn. Again, this isn't too surprising, as Nick Leverett is another one of those guys who is very versatile. The Buccaneers love his versatility, and he has shown some pretty good things in this training camp, I feel, but it is interesting to make a note of where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers view both John Mulshawn and Nick Leverett right now, considering both these guys are battling for backup jobs. They both could very well win backup jobs as well, just at two different positions based on what we are seeing on this first depth chart. I want to go ahead and take you past the right tackle position now and go to the tight end position, where Cameron Brate is listed as your starter, followed by Kyle Rudolph, K. Dotton, and some other guys after that. This was a little bit surprising to me in a way, because as I've said in previous videos, Kyle Rudolph has been mainly treated as the starting tight end for some portions of this training camp, but same with Cameron Brate. So I guess it does make a little bit of sense as to why both these guys are listed here as the number one, number two tight ends, K. Dotton at number three. Not too surprising. He has shown some really good things in training camp, but Cameron Brate as the number one tight end. I do expect the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to use two tight end sets with Brate and Rudolph, but I did think it was at least a little bit interesting that Brate was noted as the starter here. Next, I want to take you down right below the tight end position to the wide receiver room. And the way that I read this was Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Russell Gage are your top three wide receivers. Following that, you have Julio Jones, Tyler Johnson, and apparently Scotty Miller as your next three wide receivers, which is really interesting to me. At least according to this depth chart, it looks like Scotty Miller is above guys like Brashad Perriman, Cyril Grayson, and Jalen Darden, which was, again, pretty surprising to me considering that Perriman, Grayson, and Darden, I feel all three have a better chance of making this final 53-man roster than Scotty Miller. So it was a interesting thing to note that Miller is this high up on the depth chart in terms of that wide receiver room. So we'll see if this sticks moving forward. Scotty Miller will probably get a lot of playing time in that first preseason game against the Dolphins. We'll see if he can continue to maintain this seemingly decent momentum he has built for himself so far up to this point. Couple of more interesting things to note on the offensive side of the football. Blaine Gabbert listed as the number 2 quarterback with Kyle Trask number 3. That is an improvement for Kyle Kyle Trask. He used to be the number 4 quarterback, I believe. Hey, he's bumped up to number 3 now. He is still battling with Blaine Gabbert. We'll see on the next depth chart as to whether or not he will overtake Blaine Gabbert in that quarterback 2 battle. And then Keyshawn Vaughn as the running back 2. That is interesting in my opinion. You have Giovanni Bernard as the 3rd running back, followed by Rachaad White and Kenyon Barner. Not as surprising in the case of White and Barner. Those guys, are kind of on the back end now. White, he's back there because he's a rookie. Barner's back there because, he is kind of in an uphill climb right now in terms of depth chart position. But Keyshawn Vaughn at the number 2 is a little surprising to me. I thought that a guy like Giovanni Bernard probably would have been in that spot. Is not the case right now. The coaching staff still has a lot of trust in Vaughn and what he can do for this Buccaneers offense, and it is showcasing a little bit here in this first depth chart, which I thought was interesting. Again, Vaughn is another one of those guys who should be getting a lot of playing time in this first preseason game, especially as the number 2 running back. We will see what he can do with that playing time. But moving on to the defensive side of the football, defensive line, nothing too interesting besides Logan Hall being the backup defensive end to Will Golston. They both have very similar sizes, and Logan Hall is more of a pass rusher compared to Will Golston, who is more of a run stopper. So it is nice to see the young rookie in a high-tier backup role already. Got to give him props for that. The secondary gets really interesting. You have Sean Murphy-Bunting above Jamel Dean as the cornerback 2. Now, this is an interesting point to make because a lot of people have been talking about how Sean Murphy-Bunting has been working as an outside cornerback for a majority of this offseason, where Jamel Dean has been working as a second-team outside cornerback. It seems like there is some type of competition going on there. I've seen some people say this is a knock on Sean Murphy-Bunting. I don't believe that at all. I think that they are just trying to build a strong competition between the two, also trying to build up some versatility for Sean Murphy-Bunting. I've seen a lot of people say, hey, SMB plays really well in the slot. Why are they not playing him well in the slot? Well, could be because they want to build on SMB's versatility. They want to see what some other guys can do in that slot role, like some of the safeties that we've been seeing out there in recent practices. That could be a simple explanation for that, not necessarily a guy like SMB or even Jamel Dean being in the doghouse, nothing along those lines, just trying to get guys in as many versatile positions as they can possibly be in. But that was an interesting thing to note there. Zion McCollum's pretty high up on this cornerback depth chart, above guys like D. Delaney and Rashard Robinson. That was surprising to me because, as I said, you look at this depth chart, you see so many young rookies are at the bottom of the depth chart, but not necessarily the case for guys like Logan Hall and Zion McCollum. Zion McCollum is above D. Delaney and Rashard Robinson on this depth chart. Pretty surprising in my opinion. I think, well, surprising in a way, but not surprising in another way, because McCollum is a good corner. He is a good young developmental corner. I'm just surprised that the unofficial depth chart had him this high up there already. I think it speaks to how well the coaching staff trusts and really likes McCollum and his abilities moving forward. In the safety room, you have Mike Edwards as the starting safety. If you want my honest opinion, I was thinking that Logan Hall might have been in that spot. He has been great throughout training camp so far up to this point, as has Mike Edwards to a certain degree, but was still a little surprising for me in that. And all the way in the back of that safety room, you can see at the end there, Ross Cockrell is listed as a safety on this depth chart. Might be a reason as to why Zion McCollum is so high up on the cornerback depth chart, is because Ross Cockrell's back there playing safety. I think, again, this adds to that idea of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wanting to have versatility, wanting to have guys who can play different positions. You see a lot of that in the offense and the defense. Versatility is so important for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, be it on the offensive line, be it on the defense, be it at linebacker, be it cornerback, safety, you name it. The Buccaneers want to have guys who can fill in at multiple positions if they need to. Ross Cockrell being a fantastic example of that. And finally, folks, the last thing I want to talk about is the kicking situation. You have Ryan Succop above Jose Borregales right now. Not too surprising. Jose Borregales is the younger kicker compared to Ryan Succop. The Bucs would go with the safer option so far up to this point. But what is interesting here is kickoffs. You have Jake Camarda at the number 1 in terms of kickoffs. Then you have Jose Borregales. This kind of, in my opinion, leads to the possibility of the Buccaneers keeping Ryan Succop over Jose Borregales and kind of puts away, not to, 100%, but does kind of act as a counterpoint to that argument of, well, Jose Borregales can do kickoffs, whereas Ryan Succop can't. Well, in this first depth chart, they have Jake Camarda doing kickoffs, which is something I've talked about in the past. If the Buccaneers have Jake Camarda doing kickoffs, then they can keep Ryan Succop because it's not as important to have Jose Borregales there to do that. And then, punt returner, kick returner, you have Jalen Darden, you have Giovanni Bernard, Rashad White's in there a little bit, but Jalen Darden was always expected to be that dude for kickoff and punt return duties. And folks, that's pretty much it. That's kind of all the notes that I have, or all the interesting players and situations that you have on this first depth chart for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A lot of interesting situations that I feel will continue to develop and grow as training camp and the preseason games progress, which, by the way, I'm going to be having a lot of content coming out covering those preseason games, so go ahead and stay tuned for that. But anyway, folks, let me know what you think about this first depth chart down in the comment section below. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions, and yeah, overall, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you all enjoyed. I will see you all in the next video or the next live stream, but until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.